Tonight, part 2 of a months-long investigation examining the state of hate in Indiana.
Law enforcement granting our cameras rare access to the very nerve center of Indiana's intelligence center, tracking potential bias crimes.
ABC57 investigative reporter Drew Gardner traveled from Indy to Chicago for this story. He joins us live in studio right now with what he found out. Drew?
Well, South Bend has been no stranger to violent hate crimes. During our 90 Minutes of News, we caught up with Patricia Forrest 3 years after her son, a veteran, was brutally murdered for being gay. But she does not stand alone in her story. Acts of hate have been happening across the country and the state for some time now, and one in particular finally pushed the governor into action.
From Charlottesville to Pittsburgh, acts of hate have been making headlines with alarming regularity.
Whenever there's a large-scale act of violence somewhere in the United States or around the world, we do see an increase in people that see concerning material online, have concerns about a possible threat, making those reports.
Captain Chuck Cohen with the Indiana State Police runs the Indiana Intelligence Fusion Center. He gave ABC57 News a rare look inside the Indianapolis facility. The work happening here so sensitive, we're barred from even revealing its exact location.
The Fusion Center itself has access to well over 150 different sets of information.
It's here that analysts help law enforcement investigate and intercept international and domestic threats.
Indiana has 611 police agencies. It's not reasonable to think that every police agency is going to have access to every single source of commercially available or government available information, as well as familiarity with gathering information off the internet. That's where the Fusion Center sits, to provide that resource to law enforcement, federal, state, local, in Indiana, in the United States, and worldwide.
The Anti-Defamation League also keeps watch, maintaining this heat map. It stands for hate, extremism, anti-Semitism, and terrorism. Lonnie Nassiter is the regional director for the ADL.
Yeah, we are seeing that Indiana is an area that there's extremist activity and extremist associations for a long time.
That extremism was on full display in Carmel in July of 2018 when swastikas were painted on this synagogue. It led Governor Eric Holcomb to send out this tweet, making him the state's first governor to officially back hate crime legislation.
Just blatant display of hatred where, parishioners and people that were a part of the temple had to see that at the beginning of Shabbat services on a Saturday morning really, I think, struck a chord with him, like, whoa. And then the fact that the feds had to take the prosecution on because Indiana was, couldn't handle it from a legal perspective, I think probably got to him and said, this is just not right.
He's not the only one. On Tuesday, a new coalition of business and community leaders announced a campaign called Indiana Forward to help get this latest bill passed.
Indiana always has been a state of inclusion, and it always will. With this legislation, it's now time to prove it.
Let's be honest. Let's admit what the hatreds of today are. Let's admit that we're against them. Let's tell our judges we're against those things. And let's encourage our public to share our view.
Shortly after Indiana Forward's event, the American Family Association of Indiana released a statement saying, quote, Governor Eric Holcomb, the liberal media and liberal business activists are again shaming legislators for allegedly not having a hate crime law. Despite that pushback, Republican State Senator Mike Bohasek, the sponsor of this latest bill, is still hopeful this will be the year a bias crime bill is passed.
I am cautiously optimistic. It's going to take a lot of work. Thankfully, this is the long session. We go until the end of April. So this will give us some additional time to work through this as best we can.
The minute that we start to normalize this behavior, then we're going to go down an even more serious path where we don't want to be.
Now, the bill has been assigned to the Senate Rules and Legislative Procedure Committee. The goal is to get the bill to the floor for a vote. Then it would have to go through the same process in the House. Live in the studio, Drew Gardner, ABC57 News.